And we are back on the CS Podcast. I am your host, Chris Shanafel, and I am now joined by former NFL Pro Bowl quarterback, Jeff Garcia. Thanks for joining the show, Jeff. How's it going?
You got it, Chris. Hey, I'm doing well, man. Just had an all-nighter with the NFL Network crew, and now I'm finally back home on the West Coast here and looking to catch up on a couple hours of Z's here. But other than that, life is good, man.
Hey, great to hear. And, let's get right to it. We'll talk about your football career and then talk about a few things going on around the NFL. And, Jeff, I'll start with coming out of San Jose State in 1994. You didn't get drafted by any NFL teams. You didn't even play in the NFL for the first few years of your career. You were actually over in the CFL playing with the Calgary Stampeders, where you eventually actually won the 86 Grey Cup championship and was the MVP of that game. I got to ask you, were you disappointed at all that not one NFL team took a chance on you coming out of college? And I guess, when did you realize that the next step you'll take would be the CFL?
I was a little bit disappointed. I in all honesty, coming out of San Jose State, I'd established a lot of records there. I had won a number of games, but had to go through three different head coaches and three different offensive philosophies in the 3 years that I was a player there. And going into that senior year, really expecting big things and not having quite the season as a team that we had hoped for, but still being productive as a quarterback. And like I said, set a lot of the records there at San Jose State, got invited to the East-West Shrine Game, went and competed. At the time, the East-West Shrine Game and the Senior Bowl were the top two all-star games for college seniors coming out of college. And so for me, being invited to that and being able to compete against some of the top college seniors around the country, and then going into that game, earning MVP honors, bringing the West back from a huge deficit in the fourth quarter to win the football game. I thought that would definitely lead to somebody giving me a shot. I didn't know if I'd be drafted, and that's right when the draft had been shrunk down to 7 rounds, so there were only 7 rounds, and just like there are today. And so, that first day, I knew I didn't expect my name to get called, but that second day, I was hoping, I was confident, or feeling like, I think that I'm a legitimate NFL quarterback. I think that I have the skill set to compete and play at the top level, and the top 2 quarterbacks taken that year in the first round were Trent Dilfer and Heath Shuler. Heath Shuler, coming out of Tennessee, was drafted by the Washington Redskins. And I don't think that it was a real strong draft class as far as quarterbacks were concerned. The only other quarterback that people may remember out of that draft class is Gus Frerotte, who had a number of years in the NFL, and he actually was drafted to the same team that Heath Shuler was drafted to. He got drafted to the Washington Redskins in the 7th round as maybe an insurance pick, and he turned out to be a better pro than Heath Shuler. And that's just where the science of the quarterback and the drafting of the quarterback is just a real unknown. You never know if you're going to get an RG3 Andrew Luck type in the first round, or a Russell Wilson in those top couple of rounds, or if you're going to get a guy that turns out to be not what everybody had him cracked up to be. Well, it didn't happen for me. Didn't get drafted. Didn't get looked at as a free agent invite to any camps. I had one call from one coach, and that was Steve Mariucci, who at the time was the offensive coordinator, or actually the quarterback coach with the Green Bay Packers. And he's like, Jeff, hey, if you have a chance to go to Canada, go up there and get some experience. We're not going to bring in a quarterback, but Bill Walsh had reached out to us, and I just wanted to give you a call. We have a loaded stable of quarterbacks. We have Brett Favre, we have Mark Brunell, and we have Ty Detmer. And we're going to bring in one camp quarterback to just hand the ball off, and then we're probably going to cut him after training camp. And that one camp quarterback turned out to be Kurt Warner. And they didn't keep him very long there in that first go-around for Kurt. They ended up cutting him after camp. And so, you know, my opportunity, fortunately, was that I still had an opportunity. And as much as I had always dreamt of the NFL experience and having that door open and let me go in and prove that I belong, I didn't get that opportunity. So I had to go where somebody truly did want to give me a chance, and that was Calgary, the Calgary Stampeders of the Canadian Football League, and even that was not a shoo-in. I had to go up there and compete for really the third string position on the team. We had Doug Flutie, who was the starter. We had a guy by the name of Steve Taylor out of Nebraska who had been in the league for 6 years. He was the established number 2, and I competed with another rookie to earn that third string spot on that team. And it came down to one preseason game that I was going to get one quarter in. I was going to get the fourth quarter of the first preseason game. We only had 2 preseason games. I was getting the fourth quarter. And that was my do-or-die chance. And it was either going to be I'm going to show enough here to make this team, or I'm going to probably have to go start some other career and utilize my degree to move on and do another path or another journey of life. And fortunately for me, I went out there in that one quarter that I had. The game was tied 14-14, and I go 6 for 8 passing. I throw 2 touchdown passes. I'm not normally one to remember statistics, but maybe because it was only one quarter and I only had 8 throws that I was able to remember that what happened. But we win that game 28-14, and I earned my spot on the team. And then it was just one of those situations where I was biding my time, working, trying to stay ready, never knowing when you were going to get that opportunity on the field. In my second year, that opportunity to step on the field happened, and it was one of those things where you get a crack in the window or a crack in the door. What are you going to do with that opportunity? You're going to let it close on you, or are you going to blow that door open? And for me, I felt like I was prepared, I was ready, and I blew that door open.
You sure did. Like I said, eventually you won the '86 Grey Cup championship. You're the MVP of that game. I guess I'll ask, how did the opportunity of the NFL come up? I mean, I know you mentioned Steve Mariucci. He's the one who gave you the advice to go over to the CFL, see what you could do over there, and you know, just have success. How did this opportunity come up with the San Francisco 49ers, who at the head coach at the time was Steve Mariucci?
Yeah, it just happened to circle back around, and really, it wasn't as much Coach Mariucci as it was Bill Walsh. And I mentioned Bill Walsh earlier. When I was a senior at San Jose State, actually my junior and senior years at San Jose State, he was the head coach at Stanford, and we played Stanford every year in our non-conference games. And my senior year against Stanford, it was a shootout, and I had played really well on that day. And Coach Walsh made some comments to the local media after that game that quarterback on the other team, Jeff Garcia, he did some Joe Montana-like things on the field today. And when I was able to meet Bill Walsh in person, actually on the practice fields of the East-West Shrine game, because it was played at Stanford University back in the day, I went up to Bill and I just thanked him. I said, Coach Walsh, I just want to thank you for the nice comments that you made toward me after the Stanford-San Jose State game. I truly appreciate it. At that time, Bill Walsh goes to me. He says to me, well, Jeff, you know what? You deserve it. And this Saturday in the game, you're going to be the MVP of the game. And he just said it like that, and I kind of cracked a smile, a grin. I said, well, thank you, Coach. I really appreciate it, and it's nice to meet you. Well, I go out into that East-West Shrine game, and I end up winning MVP. Well, I went to Coach Walsh after that. I visited him in his office at Stanford, and I just said, hey, Coach, is there any way that you can help me, whether it's reaching out to some of the former coaches that are part of your lineage of coaching staffs at with the Niners or anywhere around the league, just to help me out. It seems like you believe in me. Will anybody believe in you in giving me that opportunity. And he did that. He was gracious enough to put a letter together. He made some calls. He put out some feelers to Coach Holmgren at Green Bay, who was with him in San Francisco, who obviously had Coach Mariucci there at the time. Some other coaches around the league. Coach Walsh had so many guys that were now circulating into head coaching positions at the NFL level. And I thought for sure, hey, this is Coach Walsh. Who's not going to believe Coach Walsh and listen to what he has to say and open that door, give me that opportunity? Well, like I said before, the only call that came was from Steve Mariucci. Well, that was back in 1994. Move fast forward 5 years. I'm in Canada. I'm established up there. I'm the starting quarterback. I've been the starting quarterback for 3.5 years. Out of the 5 that I was there, we had just won the Grey Cup. I was MVP. I was living in Calgary. I had opened up a Mexican food restaurant. Life was good. I mean, I wasn't making NFL dollars, but I was enjoying myself. I was loving the game. My teammates were great. The city of Calgary was awesome. We had a competitive football team. We were winning a lot of games. I really believe that, hey, if the CFL is it for me, if this is where I'm going to play my career, my 10, 15 years, well, I'm going to make the most of it, and I'm going to enjoy myself. And I know that there are millions of football players out there that would love to be in my shoes. Well, just when I started to think that way, I get a call, and it's Bill Walsh, and he says, hey, Jeff, I know that some NFL teams are looking at you, and at the time I had some teams that were interested in bringing me down for a workout. And he said, before you sign or do anything or commit to anybody, I'm working on some things. I may be back with the San Francisco 49ers in a management position, and if I get that opportunity, I want to bring you in for a workout. And I kept in touch with Bill Walsh on a yearly basis just to fill him in on how I was doing up in the CFL, what was going on. There was a time when I was still under contract in the CFL when he tried to get me into NFL Europe to play for the team in Spain, in Barcelona. And I just couldn't do it because of my contract obligation up there in Calgary, but I stayed in touch. He became a friend. He became a mentor to me, and what it turned out to be, he became a dream maker for me in a lot of ways, because he's the guy that opened the door. I had an opportunity to sign with the Miami Dolphins, and the contract was on the table, and as much as that was intriguing, I knew I wanted to hold off on that and at least have the opportunity to work out for the Niners. And when I did that, the Niners put a contract in front of me. I didn't even have an agent at the time, and I just said, where do I sign? I'm so excited to be here. This is where I grew up. I'm returning home. It is literally a dream come true. Steve Mariucci obviously happened to be the head coach there at the time. They had just lost Ty Detmer to the Cleveland Browns in the expansion draft. So there was a position available to come in and to compete as the backup to Steve Young. And fortunately, I was put in that position to be out on that field, to have a chance to compete and make that team and be Steve Young's backup for that first year.
And you were Steve Young's backup for that first year. And I actually want to fast forward to your second year in the NFL, Jeff. You were named the starting quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers after Steve Young had to retire. You went on to throw for over 4,200 yards, which at the time was a team record, 31 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. That season performance led you to your first of 4 NFL Pro Bowl games. What does that mean to a guy who went undrafted, had to prove himself in another league before playing at the highest level of football there is?
Well, it means an extremely, it meant a lot to me in the sense that I felt like I was always that guy who seemed to be underappreciated in some way. You know, as much as I would prove it on the field, people would still want to look past, like they were looking for that next best thing, and I just wasn't quite the one to fit that mold or whatever it may be. And that's really what I took on. Whether it was true or not, I took on that persona of being the underdog, of being a fighter, of being somebody who had to battle and scratch and claw for every opportunity. And if I was going to get an opportunity, I was going to prove to people I was going to strangle that opportunity to death. You were going to have to pry me off with the crowbar to get me off the field. And when I had that opportunity to step on that field, and as much as it happened the year before, after Steve Young went down with the concussion, I was able to start 10 games. I had to go through some huge growing pains in that first year. Well, it definitely helped thicken my skin and prepare me for that second year. And as much as we still weren't winning a lot of games, offensively, we were playing really good offense. We were putting up big numbers. I felt like I was playing the position at a high level. Obviously, my colleagues around the league thought the same about me and voted me to the Pro Bowl. I set, like you said, I set the yardage record for the 49ers at 4,200 yards. You think about the history of the 49ers and all the great quarterbacks that have come through there, starting off with Joe Montana and Steve Young and then White, Tittle, and John Brody, and you name it, guys have been through there, Hall of Famers. But Jeff Garcia has the total yardage record, and then the back-to-back 30-plus touchdown seasons, going to 3 Pro Bowls, 3 consecutive Pro Bowls, 3 3,000-yard plus yard seasons in a row. Those were things that as a 49er were such great, I think, results. Going back-to-back playoffs. Going 12-4 one year, 10-6 the next year, winning the division. We started to accomplish a lot of things, started to get the 49ers back to what that Bay Area was used to, a winning franchise, winning organization, a competitive team, a playoff caliber team. And so in that way, I mean, there were a lot of great things that took place on the field. Obviously, I didn't do it alone. I had great teammates around me. I had a great offensive line that battled their tails off for me, and receivers and a tight end and running backs that made plays when given the opportunities to make plays. And so together as a team, we went out there and we accomplished some great things. And I was fortunate to reap the benefits of some awards of being rewarded, going to the Pro Bowl, going to experience that and representing the San Francisco 49ers.
Jeff, you had about, an 18-year football career, including your time in the CFL, NFL, the year you spent in the UFL. You've played in many different places, including Calgary, San Francisco, Philadelphia, Tampa Bay, a few other places. If I were to ask you what your most memorable play of your football career anywhere, what do you think that would be?
Just one play, most memorable one play, or memorable stop. I mean, if it's one play, I mean, it's hard to look past the playoff game against the New York Giants back in 2002. We were down 24 points. We mount a huge comeback. It ends with a touchdown pass in the last minute of the game to Ty Streets that puts us in front of the New York Giants. I mean, that was probably the end result of a string of plays that resulted in a huge comeback and a big win for us at that time. I've been fortunate enough to be part of a select group of individuals who have been part of a 99-yard touchdown, and that happened when I was playing for the Cleveland Browns. It happened on a rollout pass, and I hit Andre Davis running a skinny post down the middle of the field against the Cincinnati Bengals. Fortunately, was able to hit him in stride. He took it the extra probably 60 yards that made the catch. But to be part of a history in the National Football League, to be in Canton as one of probably less than 15, I think, moments of a 99-yard plus touchdown. So that was a great experience. But I think the stops in San Francisco, the stop in Philadelphia, that was a special stop for me, just due to the fact that at that point in my career, I had somewhat put myself in a position to where, hey, maybe you're not a starter anymore. Maybe it's about going to a winning organization, being a part of a good situation. I had just come out of Detroit. Prior to that, I was in Cleveland for 1 year. Those were two tough seasons going through Cleveland, Detroit, not winning a lot of games, struggling on the field as a team, struggling personally. You start to question yourself quite a lot, especially at the quarterback position. Are you doing enough for the team? What is it about? What can you do differently? Well, going to Philadelphia, I just said, hey, I just want to be part of a winning organization. I want to go somewhere where they compete each weekend, have a chance to win games. It doesn't matter if I'm the starter or not. And I go there as a backup to Donovan McNabb. Well, hey, next thing you know, in the 10th game of the season, he goes down with an injury. We're 5-5 at the time. The fans of Philadelphia probably are ready to throw in the towel. The season's over. Jeff Garcia coming off the bench, backup. We have no chance to playoffs, no chance in division. Next thing you know, after one loss on the road at Indianapolis, who turned out to be the Super Bowl champs that year, we come back home. We win 5 in a row to clinch a division title and to earn a home playoff game. We go into that playoff game. We beat the Giants, who were always a big rivalry for the Philadelphia Eagles, and then we go down to New Orleans and we lose a battle, a tough game to them, who end up going to Chicago, and they lose to your team, the Chicago Bears, who go to the Super Bowl, and they unfortunately lose to the Indianapolis Colts in that Super Bowl. But you know, that was a great year, just a memorable year. The experience, just the feeling that I got from the fans of Philadelphia, and the chemistry, the team camaraderie that I had, the chemistry that I had with my teammates there in Philly. When everybody else thought we were over with, we really brought it together as a team and came out and battled each weekend, and we made that season a thrilling one for the Philadelphia fans. And I hear from them quite often how much they remember and appreciate that 2006 season.
Hey, it was a great one. I'll tell you that. Like you said, everyone thought the season was over. You come in and you light a spark. You really did. And you know, Jeff, it's been over a 20-minute interview. I just gotta say, it's been a pleasure, man. It really has. And if you have just a few more minutes, just to talk a little bit around the NFL. Of course, like you said, you know this show is broadcasted out of Chicago. We have a lot going out. We have a lot going on around here in Chicago involving quarterbacks, Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you're in a situation right now where it's do or die, and this team has to show up. First of all, this team needs to improve on the defensive side of the ball. They need to get out there and handle their business. They need to bring that old Chicago Bear toughness to the field, especially this week. This is not going to be any sort of cakewalk going into Cleveland. Cleveland's a much better football team with Jason Campbell on the field. They're a good defensive football team. They have some good young weapons. You look at their receiver, their tight end. Those guys can make plays on the field, and Jason Campbell, who is one who was with the Bears, is doing a great job of being a field manager, a field general on that field, helping that team. And as much as they haven't won a lot of games, they brought New England right down to the wire last week. They've been in a lot of games. So this game is going to be a very tough game for the Chicago Bears. And with them going back to Cutler, I just hope that he can step on the field and handle his business. When you look at what the Bears have gone through this season, and with Josh McCown stepping on the field and really handling that position like a true pro, and granted, he said it all along, hey, I'm just the temporary stopgap. I'm just filling in this void until Jay comes back, but he did a great job of filling it in. He's been very effective, very efficient. He's had the hot hand. You look at what he did against the Cowboys last week. You look at what he did in that really bad cold weather game back a few weeks ago, and how he was able to string a drive together toward the end of that game. I think that game went into overtime, and it leaves me as to the team they were playing, but they win that game. I mean, he has battled back, and even against the Detroit Lions about a month ago when Jay made his first return and ended up re-injuring himself, he stepped on the field late in that game, put a drive together, went right down the field, and gave that team, put that team in a position to kick an onside kick and have a chance. And I think that's what you want out of your quarterback. You want somebody who's going to step on the field, who's going to lead and do the right things. And I just hope that this time off for Jay is not going to be a setback for the team, because right now they're competing at a high level. They believe in themselves. They believe that they can step on the field with anybody and compete with anybody and pull out a win. And I saw that in the way that Josh played the game. And so when you look at Jay coming into the game now, you can't afford to have that setback. You can't afford to have that slow start. Or how long of a leash do you give Jay? Do you let him run the gamut and play the entire game? Or if it comes down to where you're down 2 scores and there's a quarter left, you make the change. You know, and that'll be a call for Trustman to make. Hopefully the Bears aren't in a situation or a position to have to do that. Fortunately, they have a proven backup, and everybody has seen that now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jeff, let's say you're the head coach of the Chicago Bears, Coach Jeff Garcia. Who do you start, Josh McCown or Jay Cutler?
If I'm the starter, if I'm the head coach of the Chicago, to me, it wouldn't have been really. I look at where the team is right now, and who the quarterback is that's been pulling the trigger over the last month, and that's Josh McCown. And I would have stayed with Josh McCown, and knowing that I now have a Jay Cutler who's healing up, who's healthy, who's in a position to where if we need to go to him, he's there to help us. But I'm not going to make a change. I'm not going to switch up the dynamics of what we're working with right now. I feel like we have a good flow. Hey, Josh is spreading the ball around well. He's getting Alshon Jeffries into the game. He's getting Forte is running hard. He's catching the ball out of the backfield. He's getting positive yards using his feet when everything breaks down around him. He's being a great decision maker. He's not turning the football over. He's not putting our defense into bad positions on the field. He's helping our defense by sustaining drives, by converting third downs, touchdowns on the board, and not just field goals. He's doing the things that I expect the quarterback to do in running my system. I'm going to go with Josh. I'm not going to change it up at this point. There are only 3 games left. We need to win all 3 of these games to have any sort of chance to make it into the playoffs.
All right, and as we know, Jay Cutler has been named the starter for that game as they take on the Cleveland Browns tomorrow. Jeff, now just before I let you go, can you please tell us what you're doing nowadays with the Passing Academy and, of course, JeffGarciaFootball.com?
I started JeffGarciaFootball.com or Jeff Garcia Football. I started that a year ago. You know, I was in that point of my life. What am I going to do? I've been fortunate to have had, like you said, a successful, lengthy professional career. And we live in a beautiful place. We live in San Diego. I have a beautiful wife. I have 4 beautiful children. But I'm a grinder. I'm a work addict. I need to be challenging myself. I need to be pushing myself. I need to be bettering myself and helping others. And really that's what comes down to it. I really believe our greatest gift on earth is to reach out and to help others and to give back. And I couldn't offer any more than offering the knowledge and experience that I have in playing the game. At 43 years old, I'm still competitive as ever. I can still get out there and throw the football around, and I love doing that, and I think that keeps the youth within me. It keeps my body moving. But I started this program a year ago to really start to work with some of the youth and high school age quarterbacks here in the San Diego area then it started to broaden, and the word got out. Next thing you know, I was working with some college players. Then I was working with some pro players. I had Mark Sanchez here. I had Jamarcus Russell, who actually worked out for the Chicago Bears and who was working on a comeback. And we did, I thought, some great things with him to get him prepared for that opportunity. And now going into this second year, I've had a lot of great high school players that have competed at high levels for their high schools and led their schools to championships, and now those kids are starting to get opportunities and being recruited by collegiate level schools, and that's another thing that I help these young players. If I believe in these players, I'm going to reach out to coaches that I know around the country, and I'm going to help connect the dots. And I've been able to do that. There's a former coach of mine who was a coach right there for the Chicago Bears as an offensive coordinator under Wanstead by the name of Ron Turner. Ron Turner is now the coach at FIU in Miami, Florida International University. When he got the job there at Florida International, I had a young quarterback out here from Oceanside, California, who was an all San Diego section quarterback. I called up Coach Turner, who coached me my junior year in college at San Jose State, and I said, "Hey, Coach, I got a young guy you need to take a look at." They took a look at my guy, Izzy Pow. Next thing you know, they were having him visit FIU. Next thing you know, they're offering him a 4-year scholarship. And so if I can help a young man achieve that goal of earning a scholarship, of going on to college and doing what he loves to do, to play college football and to earn a degree at the same time, I mean, what a blessing. And for me to be able to help connect those dots and help these kids prepare for that, I feel very grateful, very honored. But Jeff Garcia Football is my program. It's really starting to get out there around the country. There's been interest from kids from Texas, from Alabama, from the East Coast, wanting to come out and train with me, and it's exciting. It's exciting because it's what I know, it's what I love doing, it's what I love sharing.
I'm going to have to make a trip out of California and have to show off my arm to you, Jeff. I have a cannon.
Hey, I got to check it out, man. Hey, well, you know, you could have a cannon, but if you can't hit the side of a barn, man, then that's a problem. So we'll have to put up some targets to see if you can hit the target.
Hey, sounds like a plan, Jeff. Once again, it's been a true honor. And now, just before I let you go, is there anything else we should get out there on the air? I got to give you the platform right now to speak, Jeff.
No, hey, you know, I really appreciate the time. It's great to see a young man like yourself pursuing your dream and getting after it and having enough initiative to reach out to some of these professional athletes and get them on the air and really do your research. You know, I mean, for you to have me on and know about my background and what I'm all about, you know, it's a credit to you. So good for you, man, and I'm just excited to see this tail end of the season, to see how this playoff format breaks down, who's going to be the wild cards, who's going to win the divisions. Chicago's still right in the mix there. Detroit is just trying to give it away the best they can. They're trying to give it away. Well, it's there for somebody to take it. But around the league, there's some great football that's being played. There's some great quarterback play that is taking place out there, and with what happened last night, Denver losing to San Diego, that was a big loss for Denver because that opens the door for New England to really grab people by the throats and choke them and clinch that home field playoff advantage. And if that's the case, if people have to go through New England, it's going to be a tough place to take away from Tom Brady.
You got that right. I mean, NFL playoffs are right around the corner. NFL season goes by too quick, Jeff. Once again, it was a pleasure, and hopefully we can keep in touch, and take care. All the best.
Sounds good, man. You take care. All the best to you.